Hello everyone. Welcome to your lesson for the day, which is adding and subtracting mixed numbers. I wanted to go over a couple of examples with all of you since you will be doing this today and we don't have a live learning session for math. Alright, so today in adding and subtracting mixed numbers, there's a couple of things that we need to go over. Alright, so we have been adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead up here and I'm going to write a mixed number, okay, 8 1/3, and I'm going to say we're going to go ahead and subtract this 4 7/12. Okay, all right, so we're going to do as normal. We're going to find a common denominator between 12 and 3, and I know that the least common multiple between 3 and 12 is 12. Okay, because 3 times 4 is 12. All right, so 12, this is going to be 1 here, so 7 times 1 would make this 7, and I need to multiply this by 4, so this is going to become 4/12. Okay, so now that I've made my mixed number have a common denominator, everyone, let's go ahead and look at this. So we have 8 and 4/12. And we're subtracting 4 7/12 from it. But there's a problem, okay? We have a problem. We can't subtract 7 from 4. So what do we do? So we need to actually rename our whole number 8, everybody, which is what today's lesson is going to be about, okay? So we have our 8 here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and move down here. We have our 8s and 4/12. How do we increase our fraction part, okay, by borrowing from our whole number 8? All right, it's really simple. All right, we're going to take one whole away from our 8 and we're going to make that a 7. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I am going to make my one whole that I borrowed from my 8, I'm going to make it 12/12. Okay, because my denominator up here is 12, okay? And I want to keep my denominators the same. So my 8 is now going to become 7 12/12, okay? Which if we added this together, we would have 7 wholes here, and 12 over 12 would be equal to 1 2. All right? Now I'm going to go ahead and add back in my 4/12 from my original problem right here, okay? So by doing this, everyone, look what happens. This is now going to make my fraction 7 16/12. Okay, it's just like adding a fraction that has a common denominator. So instead of 8 4/12, I now have 7 16/12. Okay, now look what happens. If I have 7 16/12, and I'm going to go ahead and subtract my 4 and my 7/12, now I'm able to subtract because 16 is larger than 7. Okay, so I would just do as normal. Okay, 16 minus 7 is going to give me 9. Okay, my denominator is 12. And then I'm going to go ahead and subtract my whole number, 7 minus 4, which is going to give me 3. So I'm going to have 3 and 9/12. Of course, I need to reduce. The greatest common factor between 9 and 12 is 3. So if I divide both 9 and 12 by 3, okay, I'm going to get 3 3/4. All right, so what you're going to do today, everyone, is you're going to learn that you can change your whole number part, okay, by making it a fraction. Okay, subtracting 1 from the whole number and then attaching a fraction to it that matches the denominator of your original fraction. Okay, let's go ahead and do another one. All right, let's do one where we actually have a whole number. Okay, so let's take a look at this word problem. Dave is recovering an old couch and cushions. He determines that he needs 17 yards of fabric for the job. Dave has 1 2/3 yards of fabric. How many more yards does he need? All right, so Dave has 17 yards of fabric for the job, okay, or he needs 17 yards of fabric for the job. He has 1 2/3 yards of fabric. How many more yards does he need? There's our key word there. Okay, so we need to subtract. So we're going to take our 17 and we're going to go ahead and subtract, okay, 1 and 2/3. Okay, the problem is, everyone, we can't just subtract 17 minus 1 and get 16 and 2/3. Okay, that's not going to give us the correct answer. Okay, we can't do that. Why? Because this 1 has 2/3 attached to it. Okay, so we can't actually just subtract the 16, right? If you made a visual of 17 broken into thirds and you got rid of 1 and 2/3, you will see that it does not work. Okay, so what can we do? We're going to go ahead and make this 17 into a mixed number. Okay, so we're just going to change it. We're going to take our 17 and we're actually going to make a 16, and since our denominator down here is a 3, we're going to go ahead and make it 16 and 3/3. Okay, same value, right? Same value, only now our 17 becomes 16 and 3/3. Now we can very nicely subtract 1 and 2/3 from it. Okay, so let me rewrite it over here. So we're going to have 16 and 3/3. We're going to subtract our 1 and 2/3. Okay, when we do that, 3 minus 2 is 1. Our denominator is 3. Our whole number, 16 minus 1, is now 15 and 1/3. Okay, so everyone, you can change whole numbers. Okay, you can rename them. Okay, you can also do it with our example that we did down here. All right, like 8 and 1/3. Okay, so this is going to be your lesson for today. Remember, all you're doing is you're renaming your whole number part, all right, so that you can subtract the fraction. Okay, look at the fraction of the denominator that you need to add to. All right, make sure that you complete all steps in the lesson. All right, here's another one. We'll do one more whole number example. Okay, 5 minus 4 ninths. 5 minus 4 ninths. Okay, so we have a whole 5 and we want to subtract 4 ninths from it. All right, so we can make our 5 a mixed number. Okay, notice our denominator down here is a 9. So I'm just going to go ahead and make this 4 and 9 ninths. Now I can really easily subtract 4 ninths from it. Okay, so my answer is going to be 4 and 5 ninths. Okay, 4 and 5 ninths. All right, once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple. All right, let's try one more where we have to actually add back in our fraction. Let's suppose that we have, let's see here, I'm going to get one from your practice page today so we can do it together. Okay, let's suppose we have 3 and 3 ninths, okay, and we want to go ahead and subtract 1 and 5 ninths, okay. All right, notice that we already have a common denominator. All right, so that makes it a little easier for us because we don't have to find a common denominator. All right, however, we know that we can't subtract 5 from 3. So what are we going to do? We're going to take this 3 and we're going to borrow from it. We're going to take a whole from it and we're going to attach a fraction. Okay, so I'm going to decrease my whole number part 3 to 2, and I'm going to make the one that I borrowed from it 9 ninths because my denominator is a 9. Okay, now I need to add my 3 ninths back into it. Okay, so I'm just renaming, and now I'm going to have 2 and 12 ninths. Okay, now I very easily can subtract 1 and 5 ninths from it. Okay, so again, you're taking your whole number, you're subtracting 1 from the whole number, attaching a fraction to it that matches the denominator that you need. Okay. All right, this is going to leave me with 7 ninths when I subtract 12 minus 5, and 2 minus 1 is just going to be 1. 1 and 7 ninths. Okay, so make sure you complete all the steps in your lesson today, everybody. And if you need help, make sure that you attend homework help. All right, other than that, have a great day, everyone.